You share the space, you stay out of each other's shots, you make it work. Is that always easy? No. Can it be a little challenging? Sure. But that's just part of being a good human who happens to share a location with another photographer that day. Welcome to Off the Memory Card, the podcast where photographers talk about everything but taking photos, because photography is only 10% photos and 90% building a life and business you love. I'm Kathleen Burns. Let's dive in. I'm sitting here this morning going through my inbox before we record this, and for about the third time this week, I'm looking at a message from another photographer asking me advice. A pricing question, a logistics question, a help I have a difficult client question, and somewhere around that third one, it hit me. If they're asking me these questions, other photographers are probably wondering the exact same things. So that's what today is. We'll just call it a grab bag episode. 3 completely unrelated questions, no big theme tying them together, just real questions from real photographers and my honest answers. So let's get into it. Question number 1, this deals with travel pricing. I want to start with this one because it always comes up. Someone reached out and asked, hey, I got asked to do a session at the beach. What do I charge? Here's the general rule I go by. If you are traveling to a location just for that one session, technically your client should be covering everything. Your session fee, sure, but also your gas, your food, whatever it costs you to get there and back. That's not you being greedy. That's just the actual cost of doing the job. There are ways to soften that cost though if you don't love the idea of charging a big travel fee. See if any other clients want a session at that same location while you're already there. The more people you get, the more that cost gets split up and the lower it feels per client. There is another way to handle it, but this situation is a little different. We go to Myrtle Beach every single summer, and almost every year we end up with a client who just happens to be vacationing there at the same time we are, and they want photos. In that case, we just charge our normal session fee. No travel fee tacked on. Now, plenty of other photographers would tell you to charge extra since you are technically on vacation, and I do not disagree with them. That is a completely fair way to do it too. But for us, it's usually just a quick sunrise session before our kids are even awake. We're not really losing any vacation time with our own family to do it, so we don't charge like we are. So that's the honest answer. It really depends on whose trip it actually is, yours or theirs. All right, question number 2, and this one's more of a logistics headache than a money question. How do you handle it when you show up to a session and another photographer is already in that spot? Honestly, this one is really case by case, so bear with me. If it's a place you are paying to use, private property, and you booked that exact time in advance, you can politely ask the other photographer if the owner maybe double booked the spot. It's extremely rare, but it could happen. If it does, try to work it out. Share the space if you can. Realistically, most of the time, the other photographer just didn't realize they needed to book ahead. Explain that you or your client paid extra to have that spot at that specific time, and there is a 99.999% chance they're going to be completely understanding about it, and you can go right on with your session. But here's the thing. Most of the locations we're all shooting at are not private property, they're public. And in those situations, most photographers are kind about it. You share the space, you stay out of each other's shots, you make it work. Is that always easy? No. Can it be a little challenging? Sure. But that's just part of being a good human who happens to share a location with another photographer that day. Now, if it's a small spot that genuinely cannot be shared, like that gorgeous willow tree that you're both dying to shoot in front of, that is first come, first serve. If you didn't get there first, kindly ask how much longer they'll be. If you don't have time to wait around, be honest with your client and either pick another spot or reschedule. Nobody needs to lose their mind over a tree. Moving on to question number 3. Okay, last one, and this one is a bit heavier. It's about a difficult client. I actually did a full episode on this exact topic, so if you want the deep dive, go all the way back to episode 3. But here's the version for this specific situation. The question was about a client who is wishy-washy and a little demanding right from the start. She would not commit to an exact date or time, which is genuinely hard on a photographer because you're trying to plan the rest of your weekend, your clients, your whole life around this one session. Well, then she started asking for a bunch of extra props and to have someone photoshopped into the photos who couldn't make it to the shoot. There were a few other things too that honestly this photographer couldn't even remember off the top of her head by the time she asked me. My number one takeaway, and I say some version of this in almost every episode that touches on clients, don't be a doormat. We love our clients, genuinely love them, but we do not let them walk all over us. So on the props, say yes, you can absolutely bring extra props. That's just going to be an additional cost. Now on the photoshopping someone in, I would actually steer away from agreeing to that one at all. Yes, it is technically possible, but it is insanely tedious. It's nearly impossible to make it look right. The lighting, the quality of whatever photo they hand you is going to look completely different from the shots you're taking that day, no matter how good you are. If you do decide to take it on anyway, charge significantly more and charge per photo. As for the date and time that she won't commit to, let her know you are going to keep booking and planning both your business calendar and your actual life, so you can't promise the date she wants is still going to be open by the time she finally decides. You can even give her a deadline. If she's thinking about the upcoming weekend, tell her you need a decision and a deposit by Thursday or the spot is gone. But here is my real honest answer to this one. If a client is showing you this many signs of being difficult before the session is even booked, nip it in the bud. Politely explain you may not be the best fit for her. That is a tough conversation, I know, but your time and your sanity matter more than one session. And if you totally chicken out on that conversation, consider this your permission slip to just say, I'm actually not available that day. That's it. That is the whole sentence. They don't need to know why. Maybe you just want a day to rest. That is nobody's business but yours. And that's the grab bag for this week. A beach session, a stolen spot, and a client who needed some boundaries. 3 totally different problems, but they all come back to the same thing, really. Know your worth, protect your time, and don't be afraid to say what you actually mean. If you've got a question you want answered on a future episode, send it my way. Clearly, I have no shortage of material this week. And if this one helped you, I would love it if you would leave me a nice review. It will really help my little podcast grow and reach more photographers. All right, I'm going to get back to my inbox now. I'll see you next week. Be kind, work hard, and stay humble. Thanks for listening to Off the Memory Card. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you'd like some more support on your photography journey, head over to usethatcamera.com.